down and suck to your tiny goddamn... Damn your bloods! I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
Albany! You are stark raving mad, or I am! Good day, sir.
Seriously? Seriously? You have got to learn to wait your goddamn turn!
Lives in a one-bedroom house.
He's lying to us, Kenny! Kenny! He is lying to us! I would rather be vice president under him or resident minister to the Barbary pirates than be indebted to a creature such as Hamilton for my present post! Oh my God! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up!
Drop your credentials at the guard's desk and get the fuck out of here!
Paul Giamatti certainly knows how to do angry acting. That's what I like to call it.
He certainly does.
Yes.
So welcome in everybody to a podcast about movies. I am Jacob Barber, joined as always by Austin Pez. Austin, how's it going?
Oh, no, I'm doing good, man. Hope your Thanksgiving was all right. Mine was all right. But getting back into the spirit of things with some movies, man. And we're celebrating a guy who I think has kind of transcended the character actor moniker of like the guy who nobody knows his name, but you know his face. And right. I think he was a guy that was able to kind of break out of that eventually. And I'm happy for it. Yeah, we're talking some Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, and also to whoever's watching, if you celebrated Thanksgiving, I hope it was a good one. If you don't celebrate, I just hope you had a good week.
Yeah, maybe you got the day off from work or something, because of it. That's always good.
It's always a plus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we are talking some Paul Giamatti movies today in honor of the recent release of The Holdovers, which unfortunately I have not been able to see yet, but I know that you have seen it, Austin.
I've seen it
and
twice.
So what are your thoughts? Nice. What's for me? What are your thoughts on The Holdovers?
No, The Holdovers is great. It's I saw it again yesterday actually, because I saw it a couple of weeks ago at an early screening. There was just like a random early screening like 3 weeks in advance on a Sunday at 2 p.m. or something, just a random one. I was like, okay, I'll go watch that. It was at my Regal, and no, it's definitely one of my favorites of the year, and I appreciate it even more the second time. I do like Alexander Payne a lot. I love Nebraska. The Descendants is great. Obviously, him and Paul Giamatti have worked together before on Sideways, so they've got that history together. But man, and Paul's great, and he really carries this movie. It's a great little kind of character piece, slice of life thing that feels like it really does feel genuine to the time where it's set in. It's set in like 1970, but it feels like kind of a 70s movie, which I really dig. And yeah, it's really, really good. I could definitely see Paul getting another Oscar nomination out of this. We'll talk about his first one, obviously, here on the show. We're going to talk about the one he was first nominated for. But yeah, I could definitely see him finally getting a nomination for lead actor for this. Whether or not he'll win, I don't know. The smart money seems to be on Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, so he may have some stiff competition. But who knows, man? He could surprise everybody, and it could be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a tight race last year, I think. So who knows? Maybe he'll get some momentum here in the next few months, getting into Oscar season. Maybe he'll get the Golden Globe because they like to,
Well, The Holdovers does have some very comedic stuff in it, so he could get something for like a best actor in a musical or comedy, that weird category, and I can see him picking up a Golden Globe for that for sure. Yeah, because The Holdovers I definitely would consider part comedy for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of laughs in it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just haven't been able to get to it yet. It wasn't playing at my local theater until
I think it actually drops on digital, at least to rent and stuff, in the next week or two. It's coming to digital pretty quickly for kind of like the holiday season, because it is a Christmas movie. So it's a nice one.
I'll definitely, if it's available to rent soon, rent it during the Christmas season, because I need more Christmas movies to watch.
Yeah, we all need more Christmas movies in general that aren't called Hallmark Christmas movies.
Right.
Because I know there's some people who are way into that scene, and there's a whole community of people that just obsessively watch all those movies and all the crazy universes they create. But I'm not one of them. I appreciate real movies.
Yeah,
So
I'm not either, but apparently that's what my aunt has been watching. We
yes.
talked about it during Thanksgiving. I was
I
like,
think there's like a whole Netflix section, Jacob, of just like the Hallmark Christmas movies or something. Like you can go in there
I wouldn't be
and they have like an entire, like either that or Hulu or whatever it is, like a whole category of just all of those things from like the last 10 years or so. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm sure there is.
Mhm.
And there's so many of them too. I feel like
God.
yeah, it's insane how many there are.
I don't even know the titles of them, but you just put Christmas with any word, and I'm sure there's, a movie called that. It's like Christmas Wallpaper. That's probably a movie. Bus Ride to
There's a coffee
Christmas.
shop.
Yeah, okay, a Coffee Shop Christmas. I guarantee you there's a movie called Coffee
Probably.
Shop Christmas. You know what? While you get things started, I'm going to see if there's a movie called Coffee Shop Christmas. I would bet money on it.
Yeah. So while he's looking that up, which I'm sure if it is a real movie, it's fantastic.
There's Christopher Walken's Coffee Shop. What is that?
Whoa, I don't know,
I
but
don't know what that is.
But yeah, so we are talking Paul Giamatti, and we're kind of as we discussed before doing the episode, kind of 4 movies that I think kind of maybe define his career. Like we've got his some of his early stuff, his supporting stuff, some one of his better starring roles, I think, and then his first Oscar nomination. So I think we've got a good mix of movies here.
And unintentionally, the sort of Paul Giamatti playing real people snapshot of 4 movies, which we didn't intend on when we first put this together. But it's like four real people that he played in movies. So he's really good at playing real people.
Yeah, and then so we'll just go in order here, kind of starting from the oldest to the newest. Although the newest is still like 2005, so it's not nothing too recent. But
the newest is the Holdovers, which is a great movie, Jacob.
I want to see it. I've heard nothing but good things, and the trailer really sold me.
Yeah,
and the fact that it's a Christmas movie is an added bonus because I really love well-made Christmas movies.
Yes.
So. Well, the jury is out on Genie. I'm up in the air on Genie, starring Melissa McCarthy. We'll see how that one is. Even that one with Eddie Murphy on Prime looks.
Yeah, no, I say stick with the Holdovers for right now. You'll be much more satisfied as a movie. And I found it, again, the second viewing I liked even more. So I think that's a good sign that it's going to be very rewatchable as well going forward, and could become kind of a staple, just good sort of a character Christmas movie. It's really nice.
Nice. So so we'll start. We're starting with Private Parts. The Howard Stern movie, kind of again, like most of these are, they're going to be sort of based on true stories and true events. And this was a first time watch for me. I didn't even. I mean, I've heard of the movie, but I didn't really know about like Howard Stern's, life in radio up until you told me about it. I was like, oh,
Howard Stern playing Howard Stern as Howard Stern. Yes.
Right. And it works. I really, I enjoyed this movie. This was a first time watch for me. Paul Giamatti doesn't really, come into the movie until the later half, but I think that's when the movie got good for me.
Right.
When he's in WNBC. And I honestly wasn't sure how I'd like Howard Stern's acting, because I don't know. I feel like having to act like yourself might be harder than having to act like a character. I don't know. But he does really good. And so I really enjoyed this. Even the stuff before Paul Giamatti. I mean, obviously this is focused on Paul Giamatti, but just to speak on the movie itself real quick. I thought Howard Stern, I love how he made reference to the fact that I might look really old to be a college student, but it's a movie, you got to suspend your disbelief.
No, there's a very much like a fourth wall breaking with the narration and whatnot, and how he calls himself ugly all the time, and how he's horrendous looking, and he looks like a weird dude, and how he's the most unlikely guy to be covering the subject matter that he covers, all the time. This is one of those movies, Jacob, that I think if we end up doing those things on tournament fights, like the next 64, like this might end up in mine because I really like this movie, and I really only came to it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've watched it probably at least 10 or 12 times. Like, I think it's just a very breezy, like rewatchable, like fun comedy, and again a biopic to a degree, but really only covering a snapshot of his career as well, kind of up to sort of the late 80s, and then even though the movie's made in 1998. And I wasn't I'm not a huge like Howard Stern fan overall. I'm much more of an Opie and Anthony guy. But again, I've listened to some stuff here and there. But this is a fun movie, man. And like you said, once Giamatti especially comes in, when he gets to New York, WNBC, and make sure you say it right, Jacob. WNBC, WNBC, WNBC. No, put a little word. WNBC. That's a great little back and forth.
I love that scene.
No, and just I appreciate. It's what him and a lot of other guys like Opie and Anthony did. Just drive program managers crazy and try to change the radio business, and just drive these guys up the wall to where they just eventually break and can't control you anymore. And we should say Howard dubs him Pig Vomit is his name that he refers to this whole thing. And I was actually watching a little snippet I found on YouTube of when Paul Giamatti was on the Howard Stern show about 10 years ago or so, and they were kind of reflecting on the movie, and he's like asking him about how he kind of got into character for this, and Paul Giamatti didn't even know who he was playing. He just thought it was kind of an amalgamation of bad radio managers or something like that. And the only thing they told him was do kind of a corny Southern accent, because he's very much like, now, Howard, now you see, when you say the call letters, you got to go WAMBC, we're number one. Just this kind of this really silly, like Southern accent. And that's all he knew. He didn't know it was like actually based on a guy. And then Howard said he pretty much nailed it. Exactly how he is in real life, because it's very true to what he was, the real guy he was dealing with. I think his name's like Kenny Rushton or something like that. The actual program director he kind of dealt with when he first got to New York. And Paul's great, and he's perfectly like punchable and annoying, perfectly like defeated when he's defeated, just kind of slumped over in his chair. It's the perfect like snapshot of Giamatti. And it's one of his more fun kind of standout early roles, because in the same year he's in the Truman Show, but he's just like a tech guy in the room. I think this one's a little more of a meaty role for him.
I agree. I think the accent to just the way he delivers the lines, and I think his back and forth with Howard Stern is really good. And I don't know like how much training Howard Stern has as an actor. I know he did a lot of the characters, as we see. I don't know how much that is true and not, because sometimes things have to be,
exaggerated a little bit.
Exaggerated for dramatic purposes, as we'll see in one of the movies we'll discuss soon. So I don't know how much of that is true. But I mean, as much as I loved Howard Stern in this, I think Paul Giamatti is the standout. I think he just absolutely steals every scene that he's in. Which I think he and Stern are in a lot of scenes together. Like I said, he's in like the last 40 minutes of the movie or something like that. Which really gives Howard Stern a chance to shine, because I think for somebody who is not in a lot of movies, I think he's really good. And if he did win the best actor like he did at the end of the movie,
some of the best stuff, is when Giamatti's freaking out because he hears something and he's like running around the office and like peering in the window, and he's just losing his mind, and he finally gets in there. Now, what are you doing, Howard? I thought you said this, that, and that. Now, don't let it happen again. Now, you understand? We here at WNBC, this is the way we do things. We have tradition, things like that. And it's some of the best back and forth. They have great chemistry. Because we see a little bit of him going back and forth with some of the other managers and whatnot, like in Detroit or in DC and things like that. But the movie really kind of hits it home, and when we get to New York, and but the whole movie's just a lot of fun. And I think if anybody hasn't seen it, even if you're not a Howard Stern fan, I just think it's a good fun comedy, like just sort of a comedy biopic, just about this wacky dude in the radio industry that kind of turned a lot of heads and kind of really changed and had a lot of people really copying after him or trying to capitalize on what he did in the era of the shock jock, as you will, sort of in the late 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Howard Stern fan, but like I'm not like I don't have anything against him either.
Sure.
I'm sort of neutral, but yeah, I mean, I would second that, and yeah, if you want just a really good biopic about radio, I think this one's perfectly acceptable. I think it's really funny. There were several moments where I laughed out loud. And usually during movies, I'll find like a couple moments and I'll pick up my phone or something. I didn't find myself doing that during this movie. I was like, I was in it the whole time, and it's I found it on Amazon Prime. So if you go want to stream it somewhere, that is where you can find it. And yeah, I would recommend it. I think I rated it on Letterboxd a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely watch this a second time. And just usually for me, biopics, I feel like in the second half kind of start going down a little bit, and this one I think started going up.
Yeah, that's why I like it a lot, because I like the stuff in Detroit and DC. Like, it's entertaining, him trying to weave his way. Especially just like the visual of him in a cowboy hat. It's your pal Hop-Along Howie, signing off.
Let's not quit.
Yeah, and no, that stuff is funny. But like you said, but the second half of the movie, when his career starts to take off and they're doing all the little bits that they're doing with the match game bits are fun. And, when he starts bringing the women in the studio and things like that, like, it's just a lot of fun. Like when he finally gets the group together, and they're really like hitting when he's going back and forth with the other newscaster that's not Robin, and messing with him a lot. I think it's just a blast. And there's a lot of really good just comedy bits in there that I think are really fun.
Yeah, and again, Paul Giamatti, I think, is perfectly cast as Pig Vomit, Mr. Rushton, as other people would call him,
right?
But that match game scene, I think, is hilarious, because the scene before is like, and these are the words you cannot say, including cock and pussy, and
it's the George Carlin 7 words, essentially. It's like shit, cock, balls, cocksucker, motherfucker, piss, like that, like the 7 deadly words or whatever that Carlin used to do. And he basically runs it down, so that's exactly what he does in a different context in the next scene. And it's
pretty sure there's a Blink-182 song along those lines too.
Yeah, right.
It's like a minute long, but it's really funny. But yeah, no, Paul Giamatti is great. Highly recommend Private Parts, again, streaming on Amazon Prime. If you have not checked it out yet, go do it. We move on. I think it's like a year later.
Just a year later.
Another supporting performance, but a little bit more of a meteor role for him, because he's kind of in the whole thing this time. But Man on the Moon, starring Jim Carrey, of course, portraying Andy Kaufman, Paul Giamatti as Bob Zamuda. Bob Zamuda, not Gorski as he is introduced. But no, this was the only one that I rewatched. Well, I'm pretty sure that I watched Cinderella Man in high school. It was like, because it's like during the Great Depression, and my teacher found a way to make it relevant to our history class.
Right. Let's talk about the Great Depression and watch this boxing movie about this guy in the Great Depression.
This is how it really was, guys.
Right.
But yeah, no, so I ended up rewatching this. I actually just got done with it like an hour ago because I had some time. And yeah, no, I think Paul Giamatti just gives an absolutely fantastic performance. He's one of those, not to go on a tangent here, but he's one of those where I feel like even if the movie is crap, he is great. Like, I have not seen a performance from him yet that I was like, he was all right.
No, even stuff like he's in like San Andreas, he's like the scientist that's trying to warn everybody, about the earthquakes. And, as silly as the movie is overall, like when he starts talking about, his predictions or whatever, like, you pay attention because it's Paul Giamatti and you perk up a little bit and he does his thing. And yeah, here, like I said, you got Jim Carrey being so over the top and so in character. And as he was, I don't know, have you seen the Jim and Andy documentary thing on Netflix?
I need to watch that.
So that's the one that like pissed a lot of people off, because it's very much Jim Carrey going into why he was an asshole on set to everybody, essentially, because he got so like, he claims that Andy just like possessed him and, you know, caused him to be a dick to everybody. And, you know, he would go into character as Tony Clifton and mess with people all the time in their trailers, and especially Jerry Lawler, who he really pissed off, but Jerry got his revenge. He tells some great stories about slapping the shit out of Jim Carrey when they had to recreate the Letterman scene. And just, there's a great, I won't go into the whole thing, but like, if you go on YouTube and look up Jerry Lawler talks to Stone Cold Steve Austin about Jim Carrey, he tells a great story about like them filming the actual wrestling stuff, you know, the wrestling scenes and the pile driver scene and all that. And just, you know, Jim Carrey pissing him off, you know, left and right. So when it finally got to that scene, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't pull my punches. I slapped the piss out of him right out of his chair in that scene." And they were cool afterwards. Like after everything was done with, he sent him a bunch of stuff, you know, like gifts and whatnot. So they're cool. But yeah, like, and you know, it's got the wrestling angle, which you like, because you know Andy Kaufman was the, you know, world intergender wrestling champion, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, Bob Zmuda also, there's several wrestling podcasts he's actually been on. The Real Guy, I mean, talking about like Andy's wrestling career and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the promos that he would cut. And Zmuda's a really interesting guy. I listened to a bunch of podcasts with him. He was on Mark Maron's podcast, you know, WTF, telling some great stories. He was on Godfrey's podcast before Gilbert passed away. That's a great episode. I think both of those are on YouTube. You should go listen to them. They're great. Tell some awesome Andy Kaufman stories. But yeah, Paul Giamatti really nails him. And yeah, in this role where, yeah, he's Bob, who was kind of his sort of writing partner and cohort and, you know, co-conspirator, if you will, every time he tried to pull, you know, a fast one on people and whatnot. And yeah, he's great. He's got that kind of, you know, you don't quite trust him. He's got that Weasley quality to him where you never know like what he knows and what he doesn't know. You know, he's kind of in on everything. But yeah, Giamatti really nails it. And if you've ever seen The Real Guy, it's pretty spot on what he does with this. And I know Bob Zmuda for real was very happy with the way Giamatti played him in the movie. Actually.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, I haven't really, you know, other than this movie, I don't really know much about Andy Kaufman and Bob.
I do. I'm actually a self-professed Andy kind of expert. I wrote a college term paper on Andy Kaufman, Jacob, actually. So I'm a big Andy Kaufman fan. Like I love Andy Kaufman. Like I have a bunch of DVDs of just his appearances on different talk shows, and I've seen all the different stuff he did throughout the years, a bunch of the wrestling stuff. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating when you follow his career and kind of all the different avenues he went down. He never called himself a comedian. He will never call himself a comedian. He said he's a performance artist, and that's what he is. He's a song and dance man, and that's what he does. But yeah, I mean, if you want a little more insight, you can watch the Jim and Andy thing into the making of this movie. I think it is still pretty fascinating, although it might make you angry just for the fellow actors, you know, the way they were dealing with it. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff in that one. But yeah, I've always really liked this movie though. And I think it's another really solid biopic, and Carrie nails it. Yeah. So does Giamatti.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely want to go back and look at some of the clips that they recreated, like his first what was that Saturday Night Live appearance where he's doing it, and he only sings the one line, and
the Mighty Mouse,
Mighty Mouse. Oh yeah, that. Like, it reminds me of the guy that did Tequila on America's Got Talent.
Right. Well, there's a really fun one. I may send it to you after the show. There's a great one. I don't know if it was SNL or it was another show, but he went on this one show and he just played a record of Old MacDonald, and it was like a farmer, you know, just like singing this Old MacDonald song. But he pulled up these audience members, and without telling them anything, just miming the words to everything, he gets them all like into their roles to play the part in this. You know, he's just got this farmer hat. Old MacDonald had a farm. Yeah, you know, he's doing this children's act, which is what he loved to do. He loved to kind of make adults sort of act like children, you know, and kind of play with crowd like that. And that's what he loved to do. And yeah, there's tons of stuff like that where he just did really silly things on stage, but the crowd was into it because they'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, imagine going to a stand-up comedy act and there's a guy singing, you know, children's songs and playing with puppets and, you know, doing silly stuff on stage, you know, and it's fascinating. And yeah, Zmuda tells a bunch of stories for real about how he how he met him. Yeah, if you listen to the Marin thing, like he gets into a ton of great stories about how he met him and all of his early interactions with him, and and he has a great story actually about this movie about Jim Carrey doing his audition video and how he didn't know it was an audition video. He was watching in Jim Carrey's movie theater and it was actually Jim on the screen recreating all this old footage as himself. Like it was crazy. Like it's a crazy elaborate thing he did to get this role because originally he wanted Nick Cage. Bob Zmuda did to play Andy Kaufman. He wanted Nick Cage and thought Nick Cage would be great for it.
90s Nick Cage, yeah, I could see
90s Nick Cage. I mean, he was hot. He was on top of the world in the 90s, so you can you can understand that. But no, Carrie kills it, and it's a really fascinating movie. And definitely, if you're interested in Andy Kaufman, do a deep dive. Like, there's some really great stuff. I posted a couple of his wrestling promos in the Lonely Marks group a couple times. They're a lot of fun. About his helpful hints about hygiene and all that are great. He was a great wrestling heel. Like, when I finally got into the Hall of Fame, by the way, Andy Kaufman, WWE Hall of Famer finally this past year, which is great. Very well deserved and overdue. But yeah, this movie's a lot of fun and another really good sort of biopic, which is a common theme tonight with these biopics. But
it is, yeah.
But you know, like I said, he's good at playing these real characters.
Yeah, I mean, even in the video I played before, like John Adams, which I believe I watched that in high school too.
Yeah,
really, really good miniseries. I believe it's on HBO.
He won an Emmy for that, so he does have an Emmy for lead actor in a miniseries, at least. So he's won it on the TV side.
I want to say he's been nominated for that show he's in on Showtime, Billions or whatever.
Possibly,
which I've heard good things about. That's another show that I want to get. I don't get into a lot of TV because I like, my stories told in 2 hours, and I can sit down for 2 hours. I don't find myself sitting down for 4 or 5 hours at a time watching a series. And if I do, I'll get through like half a season and then stop.
Yeah,
and then forget that I was watching it. Like I did with the Santa Clauses, which I finished season 1 and started episode 1 of season 2.
You know what, Jacob? Who has time for TV when I'm trying to get to 100 new releases and movies this year? And I'm almost there. So that's my goal. I'm a movie guy who's got time for television. I'm at 88 right now. I'm almost there. Yeah. I'm almost there. I'm going to cross the finish line soon.
I don't know. I mean, if I watch one a day for the rest of the year, I should get there.
Yeah. I try not to do that. I just see as many as I can every week. At least, if you do at least 2 or 3 a week, you can get there. It's not as difficult as you might think. But then again, I'm closer to a theater than you are. So like I told you, I give my Regal Unlimited a workout and I see almost everything that comes out in theaters.
Yeah, I don't have a Regal close to
me.
I mean, if I drove, I could go like 20 minutes and I would have one, but I don't because I like to save money.
Yeah. Jacob's just an advocate of local public transportation, and environmental issues and, helping out when you can.
Yeah, it was funny. They made the local transportation here free, and they were like, "Yeah, well, probably just during the pandemic," and then it's been like 2 years, and they still haven't changed it yet. So I mean, until they do,
hey, it's not like you're going to say anything. Hey, when are you going to start? Be like that kid in the back of the classroom that goes, "Aren't you going to give us homework tonight?" You don't want to be that one guy that's like, "Hey, when are you going to start charging us for the bus again?"
What about that test we're supposed to take?
Yeah, weren't we supposed to take a test before we leave today? Before we leave for vacation? Shut up, Billy.
You always ruin everything, Timmy.
Damn it. No, you're not going to be that guy.
Yeah. No. But no, again, highly recommend Man on the Moon. It wasn't streaming anywhere, so I had to find it other ways. But I'd say it's also worth a rental if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no, that was one of the early DVDs I bought back in like 2000 or something because it came out in 99 and it came on DVD and I had that one for a long time. I have the Shout Select Blu-ray now. But yeah, it's there's a fresh Blu-ray that just came out pretty recently because it was just on DVD for a long time. But yeah, the DVD's worth it. It's got a lot of good behind-the-scenes stuff and like special features. You want to dig into it.
Oh, maybe I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we'll get into American Splendor next. This is kind of the this was kind of the wild card. Like I didn't really know anything about it. I knew that it was based on not based on a comic book, but based on the life of a comic book writer.
I know. If I told you it was a comic book movie, Jacob, you would have been like, "Ooh, a comic book movie I haven't seen."
No. and it sort of is in the way it's
Kind of.
shot. Um, but yeah, yeah. So first time watch for me. You said you'd seen this before.
I'd seen it before, but it had been a long time because this is one that rest in peace Netflix DVD. I rented from Netflix DVD back in like 06 or 07 or something because this was kind of a cult movie, like a cult classic that I saw. I think I saw it mentioned in Entertainment Weekly. I used to get Entertainment Weekly every week, and because this is again very early, before super internet, took off and you could find out everything you could about movies and find lists about everything everywhere. Google, oh, what's the best whatever from this subject. It was like I think I saw some list of like the top 50 cult movies or something like that. American Splendor was on there. And they said it was about this weird dude named Harvey P. Carr that these people follow that had a comic book that he wrote about himself, essentially, and just more about this, kind of schmuck going through everyday life and his everyday dealings. And it was different. He's not like a superhero. He's not a, a guy with powers or, some kind of hero or anything. He's just a dude living life. And
I worked as a filing clerk.
Yeah, filing clerk that has weird interactions in supermarkets and buses and, and wherever, and made this actual comic. These are real comic books. You can go buy these online, these American Splendor comics. And yeah, the comics gained a cult following. They made this movie. And yeah, the movie's got a cool thing once it gets going to where we should say it has like comic panels throughout the movie where you see like the animated version of Harvey. There's a couple of different versions of him. One's a little pudgier, one's a little taller, one's a little schlubbier,
room for that issue.
Yeah. It's like they're always kind of drawn a little different. And then we actually get the real people throughout the movie. You see the real Harvey throughout the movie.
I love that. I thought that was really cool. So it was like half movie, half documentary almost.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's got that documentary feel. Yeah, because every now and then we'll cut to him and they'll go, what'd you think about, the first time you met Joyce or whatever, your wife or something like that, and, they'll talk to him. You get to see his wife for a minute in there. And then you even get to see, who I think steals the movie and is so much fun is Judah Friedlander as his buddy at the file clerk office.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. What was the name? It's like Toby. And he's this very nerdy guy, and he kind of talks like this, and he pronounces all of it. Try the pina colada jelly beans. They're really great. I recommend the pina colada.
Yeah. And then you see the real guy.
No, and you're like, this has to be an exaggeration. This is definitely like a characterization. There's no way the guy's real. And they show the stuff where he was on MTV, like this little scissor reel. And it's exactly like how the guy really is, like 100%. It's not even exaggerated. No, he killed it. And Judah Friedlander is great. And he killed it. And he's a comic, and he's awesome. And the fact that Toby appreciates Revenge of the Nerds as much as I do. There's a whole sequence where they go out of their way to drive to another city to go watch Revenge of the Nerds, which is great because I love Revenge of the Nerds.
Could possibly be worth such a 50-mile round or whatever, 160-mile round trip.
Yeah. Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds.
It's called Revenge of the Nerds, where the nerds get revenge on the jocks that are persecuting them. In the ending scene, there's a pep rally where they ask all the nerds to come up on stage. That's great. I love him. He's so much fun.
Yeah. Like I went into it expecting Paul Giamatti is going to be great. He's just going to blow me away, and then no. The best part of this movie was also the supporting performance.
Right.
As much as we're talking about Paul Giamatti, I think Judah Friedlander just every time. I mean, he's not in the movie like a ton. He's in like movie like 15 minutes or so about the whole runtime. But he's great when he shows up. He kills it. Yeah, he's great. But yeah, I thought again, this was a really good movie. Again, I liked the whole bringing in the real people and doing sort of like interviews in between scenes. But yeah, Paul Giamatti, I think he just gives a really solid performance. And if you would have told me that this was this was 2003.
Yeah.
So like I thought he gave a really solid performance. So I mean, if you would have told me that he was nominated for an Oscar this year, I would have said, "Yeah, I get it."
He had a couple of performances around this time that you thought could have been, because people tend to misremember that he wasn't actually nominated for Sideways. You know,
Right.
Sideways came out a year after this, but he wasn't. Yeah, he was out of the whole cast. Like Thomas Hayden Church got nominated, Sandra Oh got nominated, and he didn't. He kind of got snubbed in that whole mix. And yeah, this is one. It's weird because he's great in that movie, but yeah, this is one of those things where I think it was just kind of a small movie to where it didn't get a whole lot of push,
Yeah.
for that. But yeah, again, you see the real Harvey, and you're like, no, Giamatti nailed it. Like his
He
kind
did.
of OCD and his little mannerisms and his kind of his neurotic nature and all that. But like he killed it. The way he even just kind of he walks with his hands in his pockets, he just
Mhm.
it works. And even the stuff, it's kind of a common theme also for three of these movies, Jacob, but also covering three guys that went on Letterman a lot. So Howard Stern
I
used
was
to go
about
on
to say,
Letterman.
yeah, that was a
Howard Stern used to go on Letterman a lot in the 80s. He was a regular on Stern, especially once he got to New York. He came on there a lot. Andy Kaufman was a regular on Letterman in the late 70s, early 80s, like a lot. Like you can go online. There's a guy who's uploaded all this Letterman stuff, and Craig, like you can look up compilations. Andy Kaufman compilation of Letterman. The Harvey Picar used to go on Letterman a lot because he saw these American Splendor comics and just thought he was a weird dude, and used to just bring him on Letterman just to talk to him, and like because he just thought he was just an interesting kind of guy.
yeah.
And yeah, so we get a lot of the stuff where it's a mix of, they have some of the real Harvey footage of him on Letterman. They just
Mhm.
cut to that. It's just the real stuff with him and Letterman. And then there's one sequence where they didn't get permission. Letterman didn't get permission to use the one where he protested NBC on the show and kind of
Yeah.
talked about it. They didn't get permission to use that actual footage in the movie.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
was wondering
that
because it
was
was like Paul Giamatti, and then it was always shot like from behind Letterman, so we
yes,
didn't
yes,
really see anything.
yeah,
I was just looking it up, and the movie did get a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination.
right.
But yeah, supporting actor. I mean, I haven't. So Tim Robbins in Mystic River won, and Tim Robbins is great in Mystic River.
Sure.
No, sorry, that's supporting. I should be looking at Best Actor. Sean Penn in Mystic River, which I agree with. But then Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's always the odd one of those random ones out of nowhere they throw out there with like these mainstream entertainment movies, and then give them like a Oscar. It's like that, or when Robert Downey Jr. got nominated for Tropic Thunder. It's like those weird
that
things.
one. Yeah, those are always surprising.
Those strange movies, yeah, those strange ones that get nominated. But yeah, I was looking up the wiki as well, and so it's Johnny Depp, Ben Kingsley. I haven't seen The House of Sand and Fog, so I
I
can't
haven't
speak to
either.
that
I'm
one.
sure Ben Kingsley is great. Though.
I don't love Cold Mountain, but Jude Law is good in it. And then obviously a lot of people were pulling for Bill Murray to win for Lost in Translation that year, and he definitely was a contender. So
yeah, I mean, I thought Lost in Translation was good, but yeah, I think Bill Murray is great in that movie. So
yeah,
again, I don't really know who I take out. I mean, I can't really speak on Ben Kingsley too because I haven't seen that. But I mean, maybe over Jude Law. I don't really.
yeah. I
remember
don't think
Cold
Cold
Mountain.
Mountain is super memorable. I don't love Cold Mountain. I don't love that movie. I don't remember a lot of it, but yeah, I remember like Jude Law being good in it. But yeah, I think this is one where he could have slid in a Paul Giamatti, and yeah, would he have won? Probably not. Sean Penn wrapped it up. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was the push where I think movies like this and Sideways, and the one we'll talk about in a minute, definitely elevated Paul from, like I said at the beginning, that sort of character actor status where he was like just that side guy in the movies, and he's finally starting to get like recognition for just being a great actor, not just a great character actor, but just a really great performer and really great. I mean, because 3 years before this, he's co-starred with Martin Lawrence in Big Mama's House. You know what I mean? It's like, and just being a goof, and I love him in that movie. He's very funny in that movie. But like the thing you played at the beginning, he's in Big Fat Liar. He's in kind of these kids movies here and there. He's still kind of putting around that. But I think this 2000s is where he really starts to break out and become like a really recognized great actor. Yeah, he did the John Adams thing. I think it was like 2007 or something like that, 2006. Like not long after this as well.
Yeah, because I watched it like my junior or senior year of high school. And I graduated in 2009. So yeah, it was around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like This American Splendor is great. It's probably one that I'll go back and rewatch. It's streaming on Max. So if you,
It'll be one of those things where
uh,
you may not watch the movie all the time, but you'll go on YouTube and just look up the Toby scenes for Judah
yeah,
Freeze.
just look at the Toby scene. Yeah,
Yeah. Just rewatch those where he's talking about the jelly beans or Revenge of the Nerds or whatever. That's great.
and I would love how Harvey would like initiate the conversation. Like I'm pretty sure he did it in hopes of like getting stuff for his next comic or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's what the comics were. He would just listen.
Just to conversations or watch people watch, in the stores and all that. Yeah, like the Jewish lady in the grocery store, arguing about the coupons and the cups and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, his little interactions. No, I'm going to explain it to you one more time. $6 for $2. And oh my God, working at a grocery store, I've dealt with junk like that. Oh my God.
My thing was like, okay, so if they're $6 for $2, how are you going to pay $1? Like, I don't. Okay, whatever.
It's 50 cents. She's arguing over 50 cents. Yeah, it's just. Anyways, it's the stuff.
In 2003, that might have. Well, not even 2003, because the movie was set in like the
70s. Yeah.
I guess 50 cents back then might have been a lot more.
Maybe. But even then, get over it.
Definitely was a lot more during the Great Depression.
Nice
Cinderella Man.
Yes.
was set. And yeah, this was a movie like I know that I had seen this probably in high school. But again, that was 15, 16 years ago, and I just don't really remember much of it because I hadn't watched it recently. And so it was nice to rewatch because it's streaming on Netflix right now. So we got like every streaming service just about
covered
represented here. Yeah, Prime, Max,
Netflix
here. I'm sure Big Mama's House and Big Fat Liar are streaming somewhere.
We got to get a Tubi.
They might be on Tubi.
Let's look up Tubi and see what Paul Giamatti movies are on Tubi. There's got to be something, right? Like he has to have done something on Tubi. Like, yeah,
there's got to be something on. Yeah, maybe Sideways is on Tubi. It's Tubi. I think Tubi's funny because you got all these, B movies.
San Andreas is on Tubi, so there you go. There's your Paul Giamatti. They call Cold Souls. Maybe is he in Trumbo? Maybe he's in Trumbo. I don't know. He's in The Illusionist. He's a side character in The Illusionist. That's on Tubi. So he's got some stuff on Tubi if you search Paul Giamatti. So yeah, we just didn't cover any of those tonight.
not this time. No. I'm sure we could do this again and pick another 4 movies.
You could pick a whole another set of stuff, and yeah, you could get some goofy stuff and some more serious stuff. Maybe we'll do it again once you've actually seen the Holdovers next year or something like that. We can do it all over again and talk about the movie a little more. This is a movie I have it on DVD, but I couldn't tell you the last time I actually watched it. It probably has been since I bought the DVD back in like 2006 or something. Because I hadn't broken it. I don't know why my memory was a little fuzzy on it because I saw it in the theater and then I may have watched it at some point. But I popped it up on Netflix and watched it again. Yeah, I forgot how really good this movie is, and I'm glad I did because it'll be in our 2005 ladder series or tournament fights as well. So coming up soon in the next month or so. So that'll be a good one to refresh my memory. But it's very it's true that it's like very sort of predictable and kind of all the beats it hits, but at the same time, is it really predictable if it's like a true story? And when you look it up, it actually all this stuff kind of happened exactly how it happens in the movie. It is kind of a Cinderella story, and that's for a good reason because this is exactly how it happened, and it's a fascinating story. And it's not really like a boxing movie per se. I don't know if you classify this as like a sports movie altogether. I guess you could. It skirts the line. There's enough boxing in it to call it that.
I think there's enough. It's like a sports biopic.
Yeah, it skirts that line between sports and biopic again of James Braddock and this real life thing and just this kind of good dude just trying to take care of his family and this boxer who's just down on his luck and as was everybody else in America around this time when everything went belly up. So everybody in this movie is great and we should say Giamatti plays his manager Joe in the movie who manages him and kind of tries to get him a leg up and get him some fights and get him some money whenever he can. And he's great. He fits right in with this. I don't know. Paul Giamatti fits right in with that like 30s aesthetic, Jacob, of like one of those guys from like the Depression era. He just fits right in. Like I totally buy him if there was like, you slide him right in, like almost like he belongs in this time,
He does, yeah. Like he fits right. Like I don't know, like there's something about the look, just everything.
Mm.
I yeah, I think he's great. And I don't think this is one of those performances too where it's like, well, he's put in quite a few good performances already. Let's give him a nomination. Like I think he actually
Yeah.
absolutely deserves the nomination here because I think he's giving just an incredible performance. Because not only is he playing like this, the friend, but he's playing like this sort of manager slash trainer almost
Yeah, yeah.
for Braddock, and yeah, like just the emotion he's able to display during the boxing scenes, but then just as his friend, um, I think he's putting in a really good performance, and I think Russell Crowe in the 2000s is like that. I think
Dude,
that's peak
Russell
Russell
Crowe
Crowe.
in like the late 90s slash early 2000s kind of owned acting. I think we've recognized this as we dig into his filmography because I'll be damned if you'll find like a bad performance anywhere there or even a bad movie. He was absolutely just knocking it out of the park,
Yeah.
like from LA Confidential all the way to like I said, stuff like this, Master and Commander. Obviously he
Mhm.
wins, I think, for Gladiator, right in the middle of that in 2000.
He went for
Um,
Gladiator or
yeah,
A Beautiful Mind.
yeah, and yeah, Beautiful Mind. Like he was just one outstanding movie after another, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, and this is no exception. Yeah, he's really good as Brad. Again, he fits the mold as well. He's got that kind of Jersey, New York sort of accent thing going, and yeah, he really kills it. He's great, and his chemistry with Renee Zellweger is really good too. I really like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
too.
she's really solid here
Mhm.
as his wife and the mother. Which I just found out today. There's a rapper that I've been listening to lately. His name is Connor Price, and he plays one of the kids in the movie. And
Oh, really?
I was looking through the cast list, and I was like, oh, that's a coincidence. And I click on him, and it's Connor Price is a singer songwriter slash
Oh, wow.
actor, and I'm like, oh wow, because I honestly thought he was only like 20 or 21. I didn't realize he was like that old because he plays Jay, the one that steals the salami.
Oh, that's one. Okay, yeah. Because
So I
there's
guess
one that
he's
steals the
my age.
salami. There's one that gets sick,
Yeah.
halfway through the movie, and then there's the daughter. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we hear much from the one that gets sick. I think he's just kind of
He
there.
coughs a couple of times, and they send him
Yeah,
away for a little while, and he comes back eventually,
yeah,
not sick anymore. Mm.
yeah. But no, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm glad that this was the one we chose. And we didn't go with like Sideways or something that was a little bit more. So that
Yeah,
we went with his Oscar nominee because I mean I would have been fine rewatching Sideways too because I love that movie. But um, yeah, no, this movie's great. I think that, yeah, because especially in that last, what, 30-40 minutes where it's almost all just the final fight.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think that's enough to classify this as a sports movie as well. Um, I think that might rival anything in like Rocky for me. Like just that final boxing
Yeah,
scene, I think is
it's really good.
incredible.
I love the entrance when he comes in and everybody's just silent, like quiet, just like kind of respectful to him or whatever. And then they finally start, cheering for him once he's in the ring. But yeah, I mean, and again, this was all true. He actually like, got a whim. It's kind of like Rocky in that he gets like this opportunity to fight like a contender, not the champion at first, but he fights like that Corn
The
Griffin
number
guy.
the number two guy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
number two guy, and then he ends up winning that fight, knocking him out, and then he gets another fight, and it ends up being like a number one contender fight, and he wins that one, and he's kind of making his comeback, and then yeah, he really did win the title, and yeah, he wasn't champion for very long. He was only champion for like a year. He ended up losing to Joe Louis.
The Lewis. Yeah.
But he took the fight. I looked into it. He took the fight over this other guy because it was going to pay way more.
Mm.
It was going to pay. I think the original fight he was going to take against this German guy was going to pay like 25,000, and he took a payday to go fight this up and comer Joe Louis in Chicago for $250,000,
Wow.
which in 1937 money
Yeah.
is a lot of money. And he retired right afterwards, rightly so, because it was like, yeah, you could retire on that back then. That's a lot of money. In fact, I actually have this. I occasionally look up stuff. I have a thing I go to. It's an inflation calculator website that you can put in any
Mm.
year and then the amount, and it'll tell you like what it is now.
Oh wow.
So he takes that fight, and I think it's like 1937 or something. And so let's see what it is. So $250,000 would be. Oh, it would only just be a little over $5 million today. So
Wow.
he then retired after that, rightfully
Oh
so.
yeah.
No, they bought a house and just raised the kids and retired, and that's perfectly fine. He didn't have to get hurt anymore. So I'm
I
sure his
mean,
wife was happy.
for somebody who prior to all this was having to borrow money just to pay bills to get his kids
Yeah.
back, to getting a $5 million.
Dude, that scene where he has to go to the promoters at Madison Square Garden, he's like begging for the last like $18 or what he need, or when he needs to turn the heat back on, was just devastating me this time. I was like, bro, like, yeah, no, because you could tell he doesn't want to do it. Like, it's a rough scene to watch.
Yeah,
Russell's great in that scene. Like, he's really
so
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my whole thing too this whole time was like, well, why doesn't Joe just help him out and give him a few bucks?
Yeah.
And then we find out like he probably just didn't know, because he's like, Jesus, Jim, why didn't you say anything?
Well, because he didn't. He's too much. He's got that pride as a man and as a husband, as a father, to like not. I'm just gonna do what I got to do to try to get out there and earn it. I'm gonna earn it. Yeah, I'm gonna work with a broken hand. I'm gonna go down on the docks every day. I'm gonna work double shifts. I'm gonna do whatever I got to do to take care of my family. Like, he wasn't. That was literally a last resort, because he had to get the kids back. Like, it was just a last resort. That's what he had.
And then we find, because I was like, oh, Joe's not kind of the best friend.
Yeah.
And we later on learn, like, when he's after he wins that return fight, he like pretty much sells everything to
all this furniture and stuff to let him train, and gives him the money so that they can cover the bills while he's training or whatever. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good friend. Yeah.
Those thoughts were gone.
Yeah.
Right away. Like, he was a good friend, good trainer, good manager, I guess. Whatever he was to James Braddock.
Yeah.
And that his performance, like, during those boxing scenes, I think, are just incredible. Like that final one. I mean, I don't know how much training he had to Russell Crowe had to get into to do that, but I mean, like,
knowing Russell Crowe, I'm sure he put in the work and he put in the effort, because he's one of those committed actors who will go all out for it, and commit himself to it. So I'm sure he did, and he researched everything and found out everything he could. So he's one of those guys. But I actually just looked up. I was trying to look up. Russell Crowe's filmography around that time when we talk about one kind of banger after another. It's like. I mean, like I said, starting with, you could say, I mean, he does a couple of thrillers and things in the mid 90s, but I mean, 97, he does like LA Confidential. You got Mystery Alaska, The Insider, which I think he was nominated for that movie. That's him and Al Pacino. He's really good in that movie. He wins for Gladiator. He said Beautiful Mind. I think he was either nominated or won again for Beautiful Mind, something like that.
He won for Beautiful Mind.
He was on fire. Master and Commander. Cinderella Man. 310 to Yuma, American Gangster. I mean, he's just like.
Oh no, he was nominated for A Beautiful Mind. My bad. Beautiful Mind won Best Picture that year.
Gotcha. But I mean, he really kills it. And then 2010s kind of starts to fade a little bit with stuff like Robin Hood and The Next 3 Days, and Les Miserables. He isn't exactly, it's a strange performance. I'm sure you can attest to that with his singing ability in that movie.
Yes, not the best.
Not the best.
When he's not singing, I think he's good.
But then he does some other stuff. I love Man of Steel. I love him as Jor-El. He's great. I mean, I'm always interested to see what he's doing, in different movies, even in stuff like The Pope's Exorcist, which I saw this year. The movie itself is like not the best, but Russell Crowe's really good at it, and he's having fun with it, and he commits to it, man. Like, he goes full bore with it. So, he's great. And and
he's really good in Boy Erased. I don't know if you've seen that. It was back in 2018.
No, that's one I have to get to.
Yeah, it's him and Nicole Kidman. It was directed by Joel Edgerton.
Nice.
And he plays the dad of Lucas Hedges, who's a closet gay, I guess, comes out, and then they send him to one of those
gay therapy things.
Yeah.
Where
Joel Edgerton is the main guy. It's really good. I would recommend it.
Nice.
But yeah, no, Russell Crowe, yeah, he killed it in the early 2000s, like even up to like American Gangster.
Yeah.
And then 2010s. He had some ups and downs. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the movie Noah just because of what they did to the story, but
it's a weird movie, and I rewatched that again recently when Henry and I ranked Darren Aronofsky movies. It's just a weird movie in general. Yeah, he's good in it. It's just a strange movie. And he made some strange shit. Yeah, that Robin Hood movie with Ridley Scott is not the greatest movie. Again, he's fine in it. You'd be hard pressed to find a really bad. I don't know, like a bad performance. Thor: Love and Thunder, maybe that's maybe the worst, but he's kind of doing exactly what he was told to do. So I don't know.
I don't. It's not his fault, but yeah, I didn't his portrayal
of Zeus.
Zeus.
Yeah,
but
what are you gonna do? It's a Taika Waititi movie, you know.
As far as Paul Giamatti goes, I think this performance is up there with some of his best for me personally. I really liked him in Sideways, and then I think just to kind of round out my top three, Straight Outta Compton, he's really good in.
No, he's great. Like when you can just see when he's slowly losing his cool when they're listening to the Ice Cube diss track, you know, and he's ready to pop his top, and that anti-Semitic motherfucker. Let's go. We're gonna skid him. We're gonna sue him. Yeah, no, he's great. As disturbing as it is, you know, his scene in 12 Years a Slave, he's really good as like the traitor, you know, guy. Again, anything he pops up in. He kills, and to bring it back around to Giamatti, and he's great. And I'm glad that occasionally he still gets, he does a lot of side characters. But then, when they give him something like The Holdovers that is really well written and give him a chance to really lead the movie, he can absolutely carry a movie and knock it out of the park. And again, I know you haven't seen it fully yet, but I'm sure you see the trailers and all that sort of thing. But he's great. He's really, really good and plays a really cool character. And he's awesome. So I hope he at least gets nominated and gets his next nomination. At least, again, he's kind of the dark horse, if he gets nominated to actually win it. But who knows? Maybe he'll get like one of those weird ones. The Oscars sometimes give you that career award sometimes, I mean, you never know. Sometimes they like to do that sometimes to people that have been.
Yeah, I mean, they gave Leo the win for The Revenant when he probably should have been a 2 or 3 time Oscar
either for Django or Wolf or something. Yeah, and it's like, Marty Scorsese wins for The Departed when he probably should have won for like Goodfellas, things like that. And it's like sometimes they think you're overdue for something, so you never know, man. What can happen? Maybe he has a chance. I'd like to see it, but I'd like to at least see him get nominated. He definitely deserves it. He's great.
I was gonna say because maybe they could be thinking the same thing for Cillian Murphy this year. So it's like,
yeah, maybe. I mean, again, some of those guys that have just been working their asses off for years and years and years, those old veterans have been doing their thing. So but I mean, he's just an interesting guy. He's an interesting actor, and I always like to see what he's up to, for sure.
I mean, even in Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton,
it's
not a good movie. He's a lot of fun.
No, he's fun.
So even in bad movies, he's given his all. I highly recommend all 4 of these. I mean, we could have we could at least done 4 or 5 more easily. Just some great performances from Paul Giamatti. I wish I'd seen The Holdovers before today, but it just didn't.
Unless it comes out at that theater that's near your place, right?
They're showing Trolls Band together right now.
Oh my God, really? They can't even show like the Hunger Games, like something interesting.
From that one, they could have showed Wish, which I think might be a better animated movie.
Right.
I wanted to show an animated movie,
or at least one that you'd be more interested in than Trolls, because of being a Disney movie.
Or like you said, the Hunger Games. I'm sure I don't know what else is out right now, but
they're definitely not going to show Godzilla -1. That's for damn sure.
Definitely not. So I'll have to see what they're showing in a couple weeks, because I will not be going and seeing Trolls Band together. If I do end up watching it, it'll be on my TV.
Yes.
For free.
Yeah.
This was a fun conversation. I was more than happy to talk Paul Giamatti, because
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to rethink my list when we do our because you and we had talked about doing a versus sort of picking our top 4 favorite actors, and after the more I think about it, Paul Giamatti might slide into that 4th spot.
Yeah, maybe you could throw some of these movies in there. Yeah,
I'll have to think about it. Yeah, might be the one time we see Private Parts on a.
I think I actually threw it in one tournament. I threw it in my birthday tournament this past year.
Oh, okay, that's right.
As a random movie to just throw in there to give a shout out to. So I have thrown it in a random tournament. So yeah, but if not, the next time it would probably pop up be when we get to 97 or 98, whatever it is, for that tournament. It won't pop up for a while. But
yeah, we probably will be for at least another year or so, whatever.
Another year or so,
doing 1 year a month for that ladder series. It'll
be
interesting to see how the ladder series works once you get to like the 80s.
Well, I think we said we'll go to about the 80s, and then we may lump some movies in for do a clump of 5 years. We'll do a ladder of 1975 to 1979 and lump just the greatest hits in there. That's
Moneyball will still be there.
Moneyball will still be there.
Didn't it get knocked out?
Yeah, it got knocked out.
So,
it's gone now. Yes,
but a good run for Moneyball.
The new one that's running right now, running the table, is The Wrestler. The Wrestler's running the table right now, hanging on from away.
Sweeney Todd's still there.
Still there.
I was very surprised. I was.
And it'll be in your musical tournament that you might take lead on. There you go. You can push for it there.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised because it was going up against Jackass 2, and I know that there was a number of guys on the panel that really liked that movie. But I got lucky that it was split half and half.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, JPO, for not considering Jackass a movie. It's called Jackass the movie. The first one is.
Yes.
So, get over it, JPO, if you're listening. But no, this was fun. This will kind of be our last episode for the year until January. Just kind of taking the month of December off, just taking it easy. Spending the holiday time with some friends and family, and getting some rest. There's been a lot going on, so I feel like just taking a month off. And I'll also pop up from time to time fights and stuff.
We'll come back with a vengeance because we got to do our year wrap-up show, and we have to. We don't do rankings on here. We're not going to do top 10s or top 12s or anything like that.
Sure we'll do that with Jordan.
But
show.
No, we'll pick up because we did our halfway through the year show, so we talked about everything. It's funny, we talked about everything up until I think it was Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, yeah.
So everything. So I'll have to look at my list, past Mission Impossible on my watch list, and then what we do is we do more of a back and forth, just sort of a roundtable style, and we just talk about movies we want to showcase and talk about, some of our favorites of the year. But not in a ranking style, just I do one, you do one, I do one, you do one, and then we talk about some older movies that we watched as well. And we just talk about the rest of the year and kind of catch up on some things, maybe get some recommendations from each other, which is always good, to get in those last few at the end of the year. We'll come back with a vengeance and start banging that out.
Yeah, because I have a whole month now just to watch movies. Not have to. Well, I'm watching this for this show, and I'm watching this for this show.
I still have to do that for all the shows I do. When I do 10 shows in a row, on all these different things, I got to watch some Romero of the Dead movies this first half of this week, and then rewatch Casablanca for Wheel of Movies, and then I have to watch this for that and this for that. It's a whole different thing. But I don't think any more Battleground for the rest of the year, so that's at least good. No more prepping for that, so more casual watches.
Right. But I feel like I hear a lot. I have to rewatch. For me, most of the time, I have to watch this for the first time, and
right.
At least you know what you're getting into most of the time.
Yeah, I at least know what's coming. Unlike Thanksgiving 3, which might be the worst movie I've ever seen. Ever.
Yeah, got a couple hours till you have to watch that.
Maybe I'm trying to talk him out of that one. Let's just skip this month and go do Silent Night, Deadly Night next month or something. Something
already passed, so it doesn't
I don't really want to. We'll see, because legitimately that may be the new worst movie I've ever seen. It's really that bad. So I don't want to do that.
But What else you got going on?
No, I've got a lot. I'm always on different shows. Yeah, we got Seen and Heard trivia. I think coming up this Sunday. We're finally getting to the episode of recast we were going to do. We're going to recast Aliens, my favorite movie. So that was a task trying to come up with. And I went like tonight. I went 2000s, so I went kind of people.
Okay.
Kind of. In their prominence in the 2000s with most of my cast. So you can tune in and see who I picked, but I have my reasonings for everybody.
That might be what I do if I'm ever on the show. Is like just pick a decade or something.
That's kind of what I did because I wanted to have enough distance between 86 and like something. So I went about 20 years, like 2006, mid, late 2000s. That's kind of where I went with my picks. And actually, a lot of them age wise even work out almost exactly the same. It's kind of interesting. The ages that they were when they made Aliens and all that. I'll give you my list if you want after the show.
I'll probably end up watching it because I'm very, very curious.
But I've got my list ready to go and I'm happy with my picks. So we got that tier ranker on Tuesday night. We'll get back into the one word tier ranker. So the 90s one word, and there's some bangers in there. You got your Speed and your Twister and your Titanic and your all kinds of stuff in there. So that should be interesting. Getting into that. Yeah, Wheel of Movies will be. Yeah, Wheel of Movies will be, like I said, Casablanca for Chris Scott. It's his birthday, so we're going to throw him a bone and do a Wheel of Movies deep dive on Casablanca, which I saw it in the theater, actually. It was my first time I saw that movie on one of those repertory screens, but that was like 10 years ago, so I need to refresh myself. Been a minute on that one.
It's been a few years since I've seen it.
And then me and you will be back for Lonely Marks, maybe your last one of the month or something like that before we break up. Or I don't know. I don't know if you're joining us for this one or not. I couldn't remember.
I'll be on for this one.
And then take December.
Gotcha. We'll review Full Gear and Survivor Series, kind of
double review.
Double review.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because I think Survivor Series, I think we're all pretty much the same as far as predictions go, so we had to
come up with the predictions. We're like, okay, who's in the? I was like, all right, let's do who's in the War Games first, or like, okay, and the first match thing, and we could be like, and who's in last? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
And then I feel like we're almost the same on that one. Only we split on the Judgment Day. Remember that start.
That's right. So we're scrambling, but that means it should be an interesting show, though. So we'll talk about all that. Full Gear was nuts, and we all watched that together. So that was a crazy show.
I might watch that Texas Death Match again.
I've got it on my Bleacher Report thing, so I might watch a couple of those matches again. Yeah, before we go live. And
really good show.
Really good show.
So, all right, yeah. I'll definitely be there for the Lonely Marks, and then maybe I'll pop up in the month of December if you guys say, hey, this is what we're doing. Oh, that topic is really.
Well, you'll be on the musical thing. I think that's on the 5th, so I think you'll be on that one.
Yeah, I'll pop up on a couple of tournaments.
Yeah, like at least that one. Maybe one other one.
Best bands of all time or whatever. The Rolling Stone tier ranker.
Yeah,
I'll be on that one. So yeah, I'll pop up from time to time. Probably maybe do some trivia too if JPO's.
Maybe participate in our free for all. You could participate in our free for all if you want to.
I might. I did make it pretty far last time, thanks to the luck of the draw. But I mean, if it's all clips, I can formulate a good guess.
Clips, so you can at least try. Yeah, no low pressure trivia. Just you know it or you don't. No big deal.
I'm good on the scene. It's more of the herd where I kind of fall. So I'm not good with scores, and I mean, unless it's one of the more. If it's not Marvel, Harry Potter, or Star Wars,
or a song from a musical that you know,
a song from a musical.
That's right. Yeah, right.
If you play the score for Cinderella Man, I'm not gonna know it.
Right.
So
sure.
The scenes they're more gettable. So yeah, I'll pop up from time to time, and then back when we come back in January, we'll do the best of 2023. Kind of see if any of our top movies from the first half are still there. I've
got a few that could be, but a few of them that are like I'm actually what I'm doing, Jacob, is kind of those rewatches just for a few of them that are in that like borderline territory to see if they hang on or not, you know. Like I said, I rewatched The Holdovers. I rewatched Mission Impossible. I rewatched John Wick. I'm going to rewatch Air. You know, I saw Oppenheimer 3 times in the theater, so I think I'm good there. But you know, stuff like that.
I'm going to give it a rewatch.
Yeah, I need to rewatch stuff like Missing, see if it still hangs on there.
That might be one that I rewatched too.
Yeah, Knock at the Cabin, things like that, where a few like I rated really highly early to make sure they still hold up on that rewatch. That's kind of my criteria, make sure they still work. But yeah, I mean, we'll probably see each other on different, you know, everybody in January once we get going in this community. It's a top 10 over here, top 12 over here, discussion of the movies over here. Everybody's on everybody's shows kind of talking about the year. But those are always fun, again, to hear everybody's list, see what everybody's been watching, get a few recommendations, you know, people that throw stuff on the list that maybe you weren't familiar with, some streaming movies, things like that, that people really like. So,
Destroy movie.
Yeah, I'm always looking forward to those shows because just to hear everybody talk about the year in movies. I think it was a pretty good year in movies, so I'm excited to talk about it overall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I just chose to stay away from bad movies, but there's only about 5 or 6 on my list that are like 2.5 or below.
I've got enough for a top 10 list or like a top 15, but like literally about 80% of the movies I saw I gave like positive scores to, and you know, a good chunk of them I gave above a 7 or so out of 10. So which is really good for like you know, a year in movies when most of them, the vast majority of them were positive and I thought were at least entertaining. So that's a good year at the movies for me, for sure.
Yeah, we'll come back in January and we'll do that. So until then, that is Austin. I am Jacob. This has been a podcast about movies, celebrating one Paul Giamatti. Again, highly recommend all these movies. Go watch them. Thank you, Paul Giamatti, for just being an incredible actor.
For being Paul Giamatti, you know, thanks for being you. Paul Giamatti. Being you.
Yeah. So until then, we will see you later.